alley. Good evening, morning, afternoon, everyone, wherever you're watching from, and welcome to the fourth digital study tour that Mobycon is putting on as part of the Mobycon Academy series. My name is Stephen Kurz, and I'm here with my colleague Mirjam de Bok. and we will be doing a study tour of Houten. And I hear Mirjam knows quite a lot more about Houten than I. It's not that well known outside of the Netherlands, but within, I think it's pretty well known, especially for its cycling infrastructure.
That's right, yeah.
It's known for almost as a cycling city, I would say. It is a cycling city.
It's really, yeah, it's really internationally known as a cycling city, and I think even people from Japan come and visit to the bicycle infrastructure. That's why it's really known. Yeah,
okay,
that's
see,
right.
That was new to me as well. So we'll guide you through that. I think Mirjam's going to kick off the tour, and we'll start with a little bit of information on Houten, I think.
I think that's right. I will need to have the PowerPoint presentation. Yes. We will start to tell you a bit more about Houten, so you will understand a bit more about its context, and then we will hop into the study tour. So first, some insights on Houten. Houten actually is located really in the middle of the Netherlands. It's really close to Utrecht, which is one of the 4 biggest Dutch cities. And as such is also where most people living in Houten are working. And it's also oftentimes considered a suburb of Utrecht, but I grew up in Houten. I don't consider it as a suburb, but there is some doubt about it. And Houten has over 50,000 inhabitants and covers an area of about 60 square kilometers. And as we said, it's mostly known because it has a really special infrastructure. And Stephen will, I guess, tell more about it soon. This is some pictures on Houten, so you will have a feeling about what it looks like, and a map on Houten.
Now, if we could just look at if we go back, just about the suburb part. So it seems like Houten is almost like, is it separate from Utrecht? It's a suburb? Because of course we've got people from all over watching.
Yeah.
What's the, is it attached to Utrecht? How is it?
No, it's not attached to Utrecht. You can see it on the map, I guess. You don't see Utrecht yet. So it's really in between Utrecht. It's still open space. And that's also, I think, why I would not consider it a suburb. Okay. But I can imagine that for a North American perspective, maybe it feels like a suburb, especially when we will be cycling through it. I can imagine that you will have the feeling it's a bit like a suburb.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Well, that's a good thing to keep in mind. All right, let's
yes. Let's look at the main infrastructure, how it is mostly known for.
This was something that I found super interesting. I mean, prior to this webinar, I knew very little about Houten. I had probably read some articles about it somewhere, but in my head it was sort of this place that I would probably never go to otherwise, for any other reason, to see the bicycle infrastructure. But as we see on the left side here, that's the bicycle network, if I'm correct. And it's pretty extensive. The size, I mean, for 60 square kilometers, that's a lot of bicycle infrastructure. But something I think, and Mirjam, I think you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but something that's quite unique is it has these districts. So on the right side, you see the car network, and it has a ring road. So cars can only enter from these small little entryways. Yeah. But if you want to go from one, let's say the top left of that to the bottom right, you'd have to return to that ring road and drive around.
Yeah, that's right.
And then go back in.
Yeah, when I was little, my nanny sometimes picked us up with the car from school. And I remember very clearly that she lived in the neighborhood next to us, and she thoughtlessly missed the exit or like the entrance to my neighborhood. And then she ended up in her neighborhood, but she couldn't cross. So she had to go back on the ring road and to the neighborhood that we were living in.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
So it's obviously not the most convenient for cars, but that's exactly the reason why it's built like that.
That's exactly the intention. That's right.
All right, so I think we can go to the next slide.
Yeah, I can tell you a bit more about the development of Houten. Well, because Houten is mostly known as a town that's really built to stimulate and facilitate bicycle use, but it has been on the map since Roman times already. And until halfway the 20th century, Houten actually only was a small village close to Utrecht. So that's also, again, why it's not really a suburb, it's really a village itself. And the modern development began in the late 1960s, and Houten was assigned as a growth center to accommodate the fast-growing population of Utrecht.
Post-war, probably.
Yeah, that's right. And from the 90s onward, the southern part of Houten was expanded, because Houten actually knows 2 development periods. So it's the first to accommodate the fast-growing population of Utrecht, and then also a second to facilitate it even more, actually.
And there was space, probably.
And there was space, yeah. And maybe if we go back to the slide, you can clearly see Houten knows 2 development periods, and I marked it blue. The first development period was built then. And actually we have kind of 3 city centers. So the first 2 are in the blue part, and one is really the existing of Houten, where it came into being.
Yeah, it's the origin, I guess you could say, the nucleus of the
exactly.
city.
Yeah. And we also have the green part, it's the bottom, and that's really the part that was built way later, and they are still building and expanding Houten even more, especially there. And I think that's something about the development. The right picture shows some development going on in the northern part, so it's really old picture already. I don't know the date, but it shows, I guess, the upright part of Houten. Yeah.
Now, just to clarify, I guess on the left there, just to clarify for our viewers, I believe Utrecht is then probably north, slightly northwest, I guess.
East, yeah, it's a...
Or just directly north?
Almost directly
okay,
north.
okay.
Yeah,
so
a bit more...
I guess that makes sense why the first development is in the north, because it's closer.
Exactly, that's exactly the reason. And I think this will be the tour that we will be cycling today. So we start in the old city center where Houten really started. So we will be cycling through the development really of Houten. And then we will also go a bit into the neighborhood that I grew up, and we will end the study tour at the train station that is in the new city center. So you can see it on the slide. That's about what we will be cycling today.
Super. I guess that's another element, is that we haven't, you grew up in Houten. So we get an inside scoop from a born in, well, I don't know about born, but raised at least
raised
in Houten. So we get her childhood memories through this tour. But first, a few practical things. If you guys haven't been part of a study tour yet, is that this has been done with a 360 camera. So Mirjam will be controlling the camera. She'll be looking around. We'll be rolling away. And we can also zoom in on things. So at the end of the tour, we'll be answering questions. So we can zoom in on certain things if you need. But during the tour itself, you can go to the right. I believe there's a spot you can fill in your questions. And we will do our best to answer those at the end of the tour. So are you ready to kick off?
Hop on the bicycle.
Let's hop on. Let's go.
Let's start the tour. I will start the tour. We leave from the old city center in Houten. It's also known as het Oude Dorp. It's also where I had my very first job as a child. And Houten, when cycling out of the city center, you will notice that the streets are a bit more narrow. And soon enough, it's also all shared with cars here. Soon enough, we will change to a separated bicycle path. And it's good to know that if we are there, the road color is red when it's for bicycles. And I will need to stop it here, because this is really interesting. As I said,
is pretty cool. Yeah.
Houten is already on the map since Roman times. And here on the road, you see gray markings, and they actually mark that there was a Roman villa there. So archaeological remains were found here. So I think that's really interesting to see.
So that's what that square, or I guess it's not totally a square, rectangle on the roadway there.
Yeah, it's actually two, I think, intertwining a bit. You can see on the floor. So I think that's really nice, and it really shows that Houten did not just come into being in over one night and being a bicycle city, but it really existed before. And I think you can also see that clearly in this part of Houten that we will be cycling through. the buildings are a bit older, and as I said, the streets are a bit narrow, and here you can see the street is shared with cars as well.
Yeah, it seems like parking. Now you see parking, because in the very center there wasn't many cars, and now you can see people parking.
This is really people living here, and they park the bike, the car.
And their bike, probably.
And the bike, of course. Yes, so this is really the oldest part of Houten, and I will stop here because this sign, it will show you that we cannot continue with the car, but the white sign underneath shows us that we can continue by bike, and we will enter the main bicycle infrastructure of Houten soon, and I will show you where that will be. So that would be sort of the main route. Yeah, it's also like the map you showed us with the main bicycle infrastructure. Yeah, that's what we will be cycling on. And we will, during the tour, be cycling on there a lot. And here you can see it being red. So that means it's really the bicycle infrastructure. So this is for bikes only. I think that's really good to be aware of. And you can see to the left, it's the road traffic, for the car traffic, And so the sidewalk would probably be just slightly for pedestrians would be further, well, I guess you've got it's one all the way to the left, yeah. And so that's also why you will soon enough see people also walking on the bicycle path here. I think that's really clear. And we are actually going to travel a bit through, this is the first development period of Houten. So the 1960s, 1970s, that feeling. And as this is the main infrastructure of Houten, what is really clear about it is a lot of green and it feels very open. It almost looks like a park. Yeah, that's right. We will soon enough be traveling through a park. And what is very good to stop here, what is special about Houten is its hierarchy. In the that's a difficult word. In its infrastructure. And here you can see that bicycles are having priority, and the car so has to stop for the bike. And this is really one of the entrances that you can see here, where the car from its it's coming from the ring road and it's going into the neighborhood here. So it's only local traffic almost. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the only reason people would be going there would be to access a home or something mostly inside the neighborhood. Yeah, that's right. So this is still bike only that we are cycling on. And I think a bit further ahead we will be there sooner. We see some children walking and biking. And that really is possible because it's a separated bicycle path. So here you see also someone. Pedestrian and a cyclist coming the other direction. So is this a bi-directional cycle lane now, or is it just kind of for all use? No, this is bi-directional. Okay. Yeah, this part, yeah. So it was really cute because I rang my bell to let them know that I was coming, and they stepped aside so well. And you will see, it's really cute. Yeah. There's no parents looking after them. It's just when it's separated, safe. The danger's pretty low. Yeah, that's why it is possible, exactly. And I think you see some car traffic. It's really the local traffic coming in and out here. And we will continue to the Imkers Park. And actually to the right, this is another entrance where bikes having priority, and also some old farms are here still, so it really is a mixed neighborhood actually. And now we are really into the park, and this is all the main bicycle infrastructure, so no cars can go here. And another so this is totally pedestrian and cyclists. Yeah. And this is a funny place that I wanted to show you. Well, I'm not sure if you can see it already. It's called the Spaghetti Mountain. It's here. We will see it a bit better later. It's really like a landmark in Houten. I remember very clearly as a kid that was really a place that we would meet, and that was really a meeting place for us as being little.
But I've got a question for you. It seems like there's a lot of people sharing the path. Like if we look back, there's like people on scooters, on steps, and people walking. Is this just generally shared? Or is it just flexible because everyone's going so slow it just gets shared?
I think that's it, because as you can see here to the left, we do have a separated like pedestrian zone and we have the bicycle path. But I think out of convenience, the bicycle path, the pavement is a bit nicer. So I would say that's the reason why people share it.
Yeah, and even I guess if you look on the left, it doesn't look like it's as well maintained as the bicycle path.
No, that's right. No, that's really right. And we are actually going to move a bit forward to another neighborhood that was really built during the first development period. And we skipped a bit in time because of time-wise. We will enter it here over the bridge. And what's really, it's showing us this concept of cauliflower districts, cauliflower neighborhoods.
Yeah, that was a relatively new term for me. Maybe you could give a little bit of detail on what that is.
I will point to some of the characteristics of it in this neighborhood, but I would definitely recommend you to just look it up. And it really, when I started studying, I did a bachelor's in human geography and planning. And I didn't realize Houten was special until my very first lecture, and they introduced the concept of cauliflower neighborhoods. And that's also when they presented Houten as really known for its cauliflower districts and cauliflower neighborhoods.
Did you know that at the time, or was that a surprise?
It was a surprise.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was just sitting there in my very first lecture, and then suddenly Houten was big on this.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was really funny. So look it up. And I will tell some things. What you can see is that the houses are really placed in a bit of meandering. I'm not sure if that's a word.
That's a word, yeah.
And it feels a bit like a maze. And what you can see is that cars are parked here in the front yard a bit. And also you have those different kind of, we call it parking harbors, if you really translate it. But it's like a parking lot. You will see it soon.
Like a small little parking, I guess a series of parking space, and this one's bigger, I suppose.
This one is bigger, yeah. So the people living on the left, they are not parking their car in their front yard, but they can park it just here. And what we can see, like the main bicycle infrastructure we were just cycling on, is really known for a lot of green, and here it's a bit more fragmented. While there is one very big playground for children as well. And this is also again the entrance to enter the main bicycle infrastructure again. So we will be going
now we're back on
there.
A main bridge.
Yeah, so this is actually shows us how easy you can get from the main bicycle infrastructure into the neighborhood as on the bike, and then go back onto the main bicycle infrastructure network. So we're crossing the bridge again, and we will be heading towards the city center. That's really the biggest city center of Houten right now at the moment.
See, and this is what I was so surprised by, is this just totally makes me think of a lot of North American, from my perspective growing up, I thought, well, this could totally be implemented in North American suburbs. I mean, the density is relatively similar, the size and levels of buildings are fairly similar. Yeah.
No, and I would not consider it a suburb, but I think it's also what you're used to.
Exactly. I mean, suburb is kind of a relative term in this sense.
So we're on the main bicycle infrastructure again, and actually we are heading towards as I said, the main city center. And because it is here, it's about 2 minutes cycling from this point. We will just do a really fast forward. I will show you soon where we came from. So we are just heading straight forward, and now we are suddenly in the city center. I will show you where we come from. So we were basically just behind this building. We were cycling there, so it's really just only straight lines, direct lines to the city center. This is the municipal building of Houten, and I will tell you a bit more about the city center of Houten, because this is also where the main train station is located. It's this one. And one of the main reasons that Houten got that was they chose Houten to accommodate the fast-growing population of Utrecht actually is because of the presence of this railway.
Okay, so it was definitely railway-based development.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, at least it had a big
impact.
Yeah, sure. And it actually, this new city center came about in the 1980s. And the main train station is really central in Houten. It's within cycling distance, I think, for most people living in Houten. And it's only 8 to 9 minutes, I think, to Utrecht Centraal, to the Utrecht Central Station. And as I said, it is from the 1980s. It doesn't look like it, and I will tell you why.
Ooh, okay.
Because actually in 2007, they had the whole city center of Houten renovated, and including this train station. And that also included, you can see it a bit here, a really big bicycle parking facility.
Yeah, you can see the lineup of parked bicycles there, yeah.
Yeah, it has over 3,000 places for bicycles, actually, but we cannot go in because we weren't allowed to do that with the filming, unfortunately. So that's really a central spot in Houten.
And I imagine a lot of people are using this station to go to, well, either Utrecht or other cities around to commute for work. Under normal circumstances.
Yeah, exactly. And this is also where you see, like, to the left, it's more like the older buildings, and to the right, it's really what they renovated in 2007. Yeah. And
so are cars allowed on this red path that
it's only
totally
bicycles.
Okay.
Yeah, only cyclists. Well, you see some cars because it was the farmers market when I cycled here. So we have, normally you can go in a direct line here, but now we have to make a little detour. But well, we can only see more about the city center of Houten, right?
Exactly. Oh, you psyched me out. I thought we'd be going straight there.
Nope. So I'll show some.
So this is really the city center. Now I think.
This is
we're
back on the main bicycle.
So where we were before, the cars could drive here, could drive there, but not on this red asphalt.
No, they cannot drive here. No, it's still, or again, only bicycles. And actually, we are now continuing straight. And if you would continue on this bicycle path for about 30 minutes, you will end up in Utrecht.
Okay, and what I find weird here, or at least from my background, is there's so few cars. So where are are they just in the corner, I guess, down there?
Look,
yeah,
there they are, and we have this bollard here that prevents the cars from coming here. So.
And I assume it'd be similar on the other side as well, probably.
Yeah, I can show you right away. Let me see. Yeah, so there it's really the neighborhood, the cars can get in there, but it's only local traffic, of course.
And this would also be a bi-directional path.
Yeah, right? It's all bi-directional, and we skipped a bit in time again.
It's a fast jogger.
Yeah, we wanted to show you so much, but wasn't possible in time. So we came from here, and again, you see really a lot of green. So, and I wanted to show you this actually, because that's the bicycle signs. The red ones that you see are part of like a national bicycle network. And as you showed us before, the main bicycle infrastructure, Houten has its own bicycle network, and that's the sign you see below. And we
it looks like almost the same map we just showed.
It is.
Okay.
It is exactly the same map as you just showed. That's right. Yeah. And we also have more like a recreational bike network throughout the Netherlands, and you can see it here. It's about 9,000 nodes throughout the Netherlands, and you can connect them yourself to establish a route. And I actually use it quite often. Did you ever use it before?
Yeah, I've used it on my race bike sometimes if I want to go through certain towns. Because usually those routes are more scenic. It's perhaps less direct, but it's just more calm and scenic than going on an ordinary street. Perhaps.
Yeah, that's right. I always prefer taking these routes. Well, unless I have to be somewhere really fast, of course. And I think we are about to arrive in the neighborhood that I grew up, and actually you can already see my street here to the right, and that's built in the 1990s, and it's really, again, known for its greenery, but you can also already see a lot of cars parked here, and I think that's a good thing to point out because people in Houten do own a car. It's just as in many other cities around the world that most people have a car, and it's just that the bike infrastructure and also public transport is really convenient, and that's why for shorter distances people don't use it that much.
And I can imagine if you're going to the city center, it probably wouldn't be that worth it to go by car.
No, it would be faster if you go by bike. Yeah, we took like a direct way. It's maybe 5 to 10 minutes.
Especially given that ring road, you'll have to go out and then around. Yeah.
That's right, yeah. So this is the street that I grew up.
Can you point out your... No, we won't point out
Oh,
your
we
house.
just... we're just past it,
Okay.
just right behind us. So we will show you a bit more, and we can...
And so people usually have 1 or 2 cars, or what's... Yeah, so that's pretty, I guess, usual.
Actually, a few weeks ago, when there was still ice, I ice skated on this little lake here. So it's really, and in summer, very nice to go for with your boat or swimming, those kind of things. So this is now not only separated a bike path anymore, so we share it with the car here, but the cars are only local traffic. We're heading towards the entrance of the ring road now. So going by car, you would have to drive here to enter the ring road.
And I'm just wondering about family. So is this like, where do people park their bikes? And what kind of family? Is it like a single family home? Is that one?
Yeah, this is one house, and mostly they have like a garage where they park the bike, or at the they have like a little garden where they can.
Oh, so in a shed in the back or something.
Yeah, exactly. So I will stop it here to. You see the car driving here. This is the ring road, so you would enter right here.
Okay, so this is one of sort of the gates to the neighborhood, you could say. Yeah.
Yeah. This is really the gate to the neighborhood that I grew up in, yeah.
So you've probably ridden and driven down that street a number of times as a child.
I did, yeah. I definitely did. I will just continue the tour a bit because we are heading towards my primary school actually, and we do not take the fastest route, but I could choose between different routes, and we are also having a cauliflower district again here, like this, what I would call a parking harbor, but well...
Island, I don't even know what would the correct term be. Maybe someone can put it in the comments what the correct term of that parking island, parking spots.
I wouldn't know. And just let me see, because I wanted to show you my primary school. And this is not my primary school, but I think it's nice to show you because this is still cycling within like the neighborhood, but we're soon about to get onto the bicycle main infrastructure again. And we're really close to the city center also again. It doesn't feel maybe like that, but we made like almost a round.
With the sort of turning and the way the streets are designed, it makes sense to me why you wouldn't really want to go from neighborhood to neighborhood, even if you could. I mean, I'd probably get pretty easily lost in there as a car driver.
Yeah. No, and this is really convenient biking again, because it's just a straight line and it's only for bikes again. Some speed bumps, because sometimes there is like some scooters. And here to the left, actually, this big grass. We used to play there during lunch break in primary school. Yeah, so it was only like the higher grades that would walk there, and then there is actually a car here. It's, I think...
Probably shouldn't be there.
No, it shouldn't be there.
That happens as well, no, even though it's the cycle-friendly Netherlands.
It does happen again. And I also, like, what is maybe nice to tell you is that I usually drove to school with my sister, with a friend, only when I was really little that my parents brought me. But it was possible because of the separated bicycle paths. And now we're entering a fietsstraat. Would you like to tell us a bit more about a fietsstraat, Steve?
Sure. I coincidentally have been doing more research about this lately. So as you can see, you've got that blue sign there. And technically in the Netherlands, the fietsstraat doesn't have any legal status. It's simply a sort of design concept that gets applied. With these signs and the way that it's designed, it's intended entirely for cyclists, so cyclists have priority. And officially, cars are not supposed to pass or overtake cyclists. I don't think there's any legal status to enforce, say, like a ticket or something. But it's merely, the idea of a fietsstraat is exactly that. It's an idea. So there's a lot of different designs and concepts, and this one being one of them. You also have, this is bidirectional for cyclists, but I'm assuming unidirectional for cars, or maybe both?
This is, I think, also bidirectional for cars. Yeah.
So there's actually no division, like there's no dividing line to show which direction. It's just a two-way street.
And just bicycles have priority.
Yeah, and that's usually indicated by the design of, or this red asphalt, at least in the Netherlands. Elsewhere, it can be different. I know Belgium and I think Germany have completely legal status of what it can and cannot be a fietsstraat or Fahrradstraße, I think in Germany. But yeah, it's a new concept for me. Well, not that I haven't seen it before, but that I didn't know that it was so flexible. I thought it was just one thing, but it's actually quite varied.
I also learned that today from you, actually. Yeah, and in this fietsstraat, you also have some speed bumps. It alerts us that car traffic may come from the right, but you have priority yourself.
So you could just, I guess, as a cyclist, continue going.
Yeah, it's just be aware that something might be coming from the right or the left, and
these are driveways on either side of people's houses, I'm assuming.
Yeah. And we're like almost at my primary school, and it's also, let me see. As I said, there were multiple ways to go to my primary school. This is just one of them. And this is only for cars, for bikes again, this pass-through. And to the right, I will show you now. Here it's also again, the cars cannot go through.
To the right,
further.
that would be, yeah.
Yeah, that would be here. But you could also come by bike from that way, and it's also where the bicycle parking facility of my primary school used to be. So most of the times I came from there because you wouldn't have to cross with cars. And
yeah, that makes sense. Just a logical route choice.
Yeah, it is. And my primary school, well, it's here, some parking places, because of course not everyone goes by bike to school. And actually my primary school is really located in this business area district. And recent years, most of those office buildings were transformed to housing.
Oh,
so you see, now they have little balconies. They didn't have that before.
I guess that's part of their push for growth to some extent.
Yeah, it keeps being an issue. So we were cycling just here around the corner. Now we're actually going underneath the ring road. And luckily there's a tunnel, so we don't have to cross this fast driving cars. They can drive 70 kilometers an hour on the ring road.
Okay, good thing there's separation.
It's really nice. And this part of Houten, it's like most of the neighborhoods are within the ring road. And now we're going to like the sports fields of Houten, where really a lot of sports facilities are clustered. Okay. So I played volleyball there, but you also have a football club, and you have yoga and just some fitness. You have all kind of things.
And on the right, those are businesses then? Or is that still part of the sports?
That's also all part of the sport. This all is like the sports center. Yeah.
And I guess that's kind of something that I've heard also in North American schools of thought. Is it's also, I also felt it weird when I was in university driving to the gym. It seemed a bit counterintuitive. Why would I drive when I could, or taking an escalator up to enter? And
a lot of people are driving, because this all here is one big parking spot.
despite there still being cycling infrastructure.
Yeah.
Not everyone will take advantage.
Oh, that's right. And again, this is like a separated bicycle path, and to the left you can drive with the car. And also the green building you see here is one of the 2 primary schools that Houten has.
I think it would be a middle school, correct? Or like a high school?
High school, sorry.
Yeah, okay.
It is a high school, yeah. And I did not go to high school in Houten. I had to cycle about 35 minutes, I guess, to my high school. Actually, this is your question about Houten being a suburb.
Oh, okay.
If you would go to Utrecht, it is that way. You can really see some farmlands in between, so you can see it's not connected to Utrecht directly.
Yeah.
Why I would argue it not to be a suburb.
We can have another webinar on arguments about suburbs.
Yeah, let's plan it. Now we are again going under the ring road, and we are actually going to Houten Zuid. It's the southern part of Houten. It's during the second development period. And this is another kind of fietsstraat.
Could you turn around for a second? I noticed that you just cite, like, was that a roundabout for cars, how does that work?
It is a roundabout for cyclists. It works the same way as normal roundabouts. It just does not have like a sign, so it doesn't have the real, I think, legal status.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
From the look of it, we just kind of went straight through.
Most people do.
Yeah. It doesn't seem to have a big purpose.
No,
at least
because
in my knowledge, it isn't.
I think it's
useful.
also to make people aware of, oh, this is like a crossing.
It's a junction, yeah.
Yeah. And also you see mixed housing. So this used to be farmland also, and now it's a whole neighborhood. Imagine how it looked like before.
And so this is, again, a spot where cars can ride. Do cyclists have priority here?
Cyclists have priority here, and if you go here to the right, cars cannot go there anymore. I think there is even a sign. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that blue sign there.
It didn't stop, but I can show you. Here's another part. Yeah, so this blue sign really shows us that it's only for bikes. Mm-hmm. And the car it's only local traffic here. And it leads us to the Rietplas, and it's a really popular spot during summer. And you see a car parked here, but normally it's full of bicycles here. People are all going here by bike, and it's not really convenient getting here by car.
Where would you go if you were to go? Like, how would people get there if they had to get by car?
They would get from the ring road into the neighborhood and then
have to snake through.
Yeah. And on most places, only the sign of it being for bikes is enough. But here they also had to place a bollard, so apparently just the sign didn't keep the cars out. It's a too popular spot.
It's a popular
And also in a lot of places in the Netherlands, I think municipalities are removing those bollards.
Yeah.
A lot of accidents happen with them. So this is really a nice spot in Houten. It's, I think, the most photographed houses Houten knows.
Also the title page you selected for our presentation.
Exactly. So it's nice to show you a beautiful part of Houten with the lake and the houses.
So they're on like water. Where would they park? I think I might have just even seen a car. But how do they access that?
They can access from behind, and there's a big parking spot right here behind the houses where they would park the car.
Okay. Yeah.
So from the front of the houses, you would say there are no cars, and it's only super pretty.
It's actually, it's almost the other way around in many places where you see the car right in front of the house.
Yeah.
But in this case, you have waterfront and then the car enters from the back.
And the waterfront was more important here, I think, than the cars.
That would be my preference as well.
So we will actually be going to like the third city center that I was talking about. It's really the new city center that Houten know. and it's known as Houten Castellum. But before, we will just write a little bit more through Houten Zuid. Oh, here the kids and their mom have priority from the right. And this speed bump reminds me that I have to pay attention because there's a primary school to the left. So
because kids crossing and
crossing,
running and
yeah,
playing.
exactly. Yeah.
And about how wide would you say that this path is? I don't know. I'm trying to estimate myself.
Maybe
3 meters. Or
yeah,
something?
that was also what I had in mind.
Yeah.
3 to 4 meters, probably. As you can see, they continue to build here as well.
That's a
really
familiar sight.
Yeah.
Development.
And again, as we said with the waterfront, the cars are not parked in front of the house. It's also the case here because the houses are at the bicycle path and they park on places like this.
Would that be another use of the sort of parking harbor concept you were talking about? Or I guess it's an iteration of that? Yeah,
maybe this is a way newer neighborhood, so I wouldn't be sure if
it's technically not a cauliflower neighborhood, I guess.
No, I don't think so.
A bit too new.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. You can see here the entrance also already from Houten Zuid, the Houten Castellum city center. And it's built in like a Roman style. It refers to the history of Houten, as we saw the Roman villa as well. And it's really known for a bit like narrow streets with terraces, and they say it's inspired by castle towns in the southern of France and Italy. And with this city center, so Houten has 3 city centers now, and there are various shopping facilities, and I think what is nice to know as well is that the city centers are connected, so the bicycle network is connecting those 3 city centers directly. And this city center especially, you have to get there always over a bridge.
So it's almost on an island.
Yeah, it's basically on an island.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
That's really nice.
And so are these businesses here mostly?
No,
residents?
This is mostly residents. Yeah.
Okay.
And it feels a bit of like Italian. That's at least the feeling they wanted to give it.
Yeah.
This is only bikes, by the way. I almost forget telling you it's only it's just I'm so used to it.
I do notice that it's a different surfacing here. It looks more like street bricks or almost cobbles.
Yeah,
but that's also, see, I guess that's also because I see that sign. It's also a bicycle street.
Yeah, it's only bikes.
Yeah,
so it's not a bicycle street, so cars cannot get there.
Okay, it's not a bicycle street. Okay.
Yeah.
But it is reserved, because then it's just, bicycle street is always shared.
And I think so far we've almost only been cycling on the main bicycle infrastructure. And this moment I noticed that this is the first time I had to stop for a car because the car was given priority. So it's not always better to go by bike in Houten, but it's still really fine.
It feels strange almost to be on such a wide driving surface all of a sudden.
Yeah, it feels so different, and it's really a newer city center. And actually, when they started building this newer part of Houten, they really created traffic nodes. So there's, as I said, the bicycle network is coming together, but there's also a train station with a lot of bicycle parking. It's in here. We, again, cannot get in there.
No.
But now you know that it is...
I'm sure if you Google fietstransferium in Houten, you might find some photos online.
Probably, yeah. And there's also car parking, so the car we just saw was going to the car parking probably, or to the shops because they are behind. And I think this is where we will hop on the train to maybe Den Bosch or Utrecht. This train station was built actually in 2010. It's the Houten knows 2 train stations. And from here, it takes maybe 30 minutes to travel to Utrecht. Okay. But you could also go to Den Bosch, which is also a really nice city. So we could also say we hop on the train and get into the city tour of Den Bosch for the next time.
Oh, there we go. So we stop our city tour. Ooh, a city tour there. I hope you guys enjoyed the tour. I'm going to put my little ear guy back in. I hope you guys enjoyed the tour. We got a personal tour from Mirjam, who's born, no, not born, raised there, you corrected me earlier. And this coming month, we have, in celebration of Women's Month, we've got a number of women-led, a lot of women-led content coming up. So the next one is on March 3rd. I believe we have a slide at the end. Maybe we can pull that up. Is that coming? It should be able to.
I'm not sure.
I believe we have a slide at the end. Oh, maybe Mirjam has to click through it. Well, actually, maybe even before that, you've got one more thing. It looks like about the history of.
Yeah, I was just having like a quick overview or timeline of the development of Houten.
Okay.
We could first go into the Women's Month.
Sure.
And then go back to Houten.
Yeah, let's do it. So, Women's Month, next Wednesday, March 3rd, we've got Our Mobility Stories. That's a webinar with various women of our Mobycon International team that share their experience and passion for mobility equity. Then, and that's a free one, which is part of Mobycon Academy, so anyone can join and watch that one. Then we have a number of premium sessions which require a subscription to the Mobycon Academy for. The first one being a special interview with the European Cycling Federation CEO Jill Warren. I hope I'm saying her last name correctly. And that'll be hosted by Angela van der Kloof, also a Mobycon colleague of ours. Then we'll have one about the value of social safety. The host is to be determined, but that'll be talking about the ride-along phone line in Utrecht. And the third one is a traffic calming question and answer session with Mary Elbech. That's one of our colleagues on the other side of the ocean in the United States. And that'll be co-hosted with our Dutch colleague Leonard Nout. And of course, many more where that came from. So I hope we see you guys at those. And I think Mirjam will take us to the last little bit of Houten.
I think it would be nice to show you a bit of the timeline. So we traveled through the development of Houten a bit. And as you can see, the last points are there is currently a vision for 2040 created about the development of Houten, because they have the aim to create almost 6,000 more houses. And the original concept of the bicycle-friendly town of Houten did not become less important over the years. I guess even with the issues we face these days with climate change may have even become more important, I would say at least. And I think for Houten, especially what works really well is the combination of the bicycle infrastructure and the availability of good public transport.
Well, I mean, we already saw two train stations, and never mind the bus or other modes.
Yeah, and also Houten has supermarkets, but also other shopping facilities, so people don't have to go out of the town. So they can reach almost all the things that you need to reach with the bike.
Within the town itself.
Yeah, within the town. So I think that really makes it a successful concept. Although, of course, there are also downsides. And as we saw, there are still cars. So it's not the situation that some people think of when they hear Houten, that there are only bikes.
It's not car-free.
It's not car-free, and almost everyone owns a car still. But, well, I think it is. I read somewhere that cycling is in the DNA of people growing up in Houten. Yeah. So maybe that's where my love for cycling comes from.
Hey,
I wouldn't know.
I think that's something you should be proud of. You should accept that and use it.
I think I would accept it. I'm proud of it. Yeah.
I've heard we have one question. If we could maybe go to that question, if it'll pop up on the screen. It's almost there. But that's great that we've got one question. I'm curious. All right, so land uses. Homes, shops, recreational seem to be quite separated. I'm curious about how long it would take to walk from homes to the nearest city center. No, that's a good question. I think
that's a good question. I think I would be able to answer that, especially from taking my parents' home where I grew up to the city center. It would take you 15 minutes by walking. And that's really the big city center that we saw with the main train station, where you don't only have a supermarket, but you have way more shopping facilities, and so also the train station there. And there's also one supermarket a bit closer by. I think it's about 10 minutes by foot.
Okay. And so I guess with talking about the land uses, between city center and where you grew up, would there be facilities also in between, or would that be where you would just go directly?
Yeah, it's really clustered, the facilities.
Oh, okay, yeah. All right. I hope that answers your question.
I hope so.
If you guys have any other questions, you're welcome to either email Mirjam or myself. My email, I'm not sure if we have I don't think we have a closing slide with my email, but that's s.kurz, Kurz, @mobycon.nl.
Mine is m.debok, B-O-K, @mobycon.nl.
And I mean, of course, you can always just email the general Mobycon email to get in touch with us. I hope you enjoyed the tour. It was a learning experience for me. I really enjoyed it.
I hope I transferred some of my bicycle DNA to you guys and that I made you all more like enthusiastic about cycling.
In Houten.
Yeah.
And in the Netherlands in general. All right. That'll be it for us this evening. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks a lot.
I'd like to thank Mirjam. I'd like to thank our tech guys in the back. Melissa, who's also helped us put together a lot of this content. Thank you very much. And we will see you next time at the next one on March 3rd.